Stay with us, Albie. We're going to bring in now a Just Stop Oil spokesperson. Delighted to be joined by Zoe Cohen. And Zoe, it's interesting. I spent 2 weeks up in Glasgow a couple of years ago when this country hosted COP. And I found it fascinating that the likes of Greta Thunberg were not inside, but they were outside the conference as well, protesting against the idea of net zero, promoting instead a more absolute line on absolute zero. What's the position of Just Stop Oil?
Well, first of all, I think what's really important to say is that, of course, this channel, the funder and founder of this channel has major oil interests, and GB News isn't a news station at all. It's a misinformation station funded by oil interests.
It's interesting, Zoe, that you're then invited on to give your position.
So all you're doing is pushing misinformation and climate denial and delay. That's your entire job. That's your raison d'etre as a channel, isn't it?
Is it? In that case, why did I spend quite a lot of my year last year arguing to legalise onshore wind turbines? Why did I take the Tory party to task, the SNP to task, the Liberal Democrats to task for blocking nuclear power? Why have so many different people working for this channel actually been on the pro-growth, pro-green side of this argument, Zoe Cohen?
I don't know, but I think you probably feel you have to provide a little bit of balance, which is partly why you have us on, so you can argue to Ofcom that you've got some balance amongst
Zoe, with all due respect, are you coming on now to discuss the topic that we want to discuss, which is whether COP28 is effective as a summit in terms of making us all a greener planet, or are you here to talk about the channel itself?
I'm delighted to talk about COP. I mean, it's basically a giant sales conference for the oil and gas industry, isn't it?
Oh, I find this delightful. I think there are people on the right of the spectrum who hate COP because it's trying to get to net zero and trying to get some international agreements. And then there are people on the far left, on the anti-growth side of things, who hate COP because it doesn't go far enough. Albie, can governments win?
It's not about being on the far left or far right. It's about being a realist and understanding reality. We've already gone past 1.5 degrees this year. We've gone past 1.5 degrees.
Are you not proud of the UK's record on climate change and the amount of progress that we've made on the the transition from fossil fuels to green, clean energy sources? And obviously, we'd like to get further by 2050. But are you not proud of the progress that this country has made compared to other countries?
This country's made some progress, but it's gone in full reverse gear. This government licensing 100 new oil and gas licenses at a time when we are heading for utter catastrophe. We're heading for collapse of our economy, collapse of our public services, collapse of our food systems. Our children are going to be starving in front of our eyes in the decades to come.
Zoe, one of the key tenets of our climate change policy is to influence other countries with high carbon emissions to reduce them. Is COP28 useful in that respect? Countries like Britain that are making steps, you don't believe they go far enough, but are making steps to reduce carbon emissions, can persuade other nations, at least in theory, to cut back on their own?
If we had any actual leadership, Alice, then yes, but we don't. How can we be leading when we are rolling back on almost every measure and licensing 100 new fossil fuel projects in 2023 when we've just gone past 1.5 degrees? It's absolutely ridiculous. We have no leadership in this country anymore. We are utterly failing. We are betraying our children and failing everyone in the global south. We can't call ourselves leaders anymore, but we could do if we radically changed course and ended new fossil fuel licenses, which is of course supported by the International Energy Agency, the Pope, all leading medical journals, all the leading scientists and so on. But what we need to do, I don't know why there's some laughing going on about medical journals. This is a global health emergency. I used to work in the NHS. You don't actually seem to care about that, do you?
I just love how you refer to the Pope as an authority on climate change. The Catholic Church didn't accept the Earth went around the sun until about 20 years ago. I mean, my goodness, what an authority to appeal to. Albie, let's give the final word to you on this. Is there not a point that Just Stop Oil have here, that this is a jamboree for people who want to greenwash what they do? All the big corporates are going to be there.
No, I don't think that's right at all. Look, it's at these kinds of conferences where global leaders rub shoulders with business leaders and make decisions which are going to impact the future of everyone in the studio and everyone in the two respective rooms that me and the other guests are talking from. And I can completely understand the frustration
The truth
that
is that the people involved in COP are driving genocide and they know it.
If
Okay,
this conference wasn't happening,
They are
she'd still be
driving climate
complaining. So
genocide
what
and
is
they
it
know it,
that just
Alice.
before
That
actually
is
Well, on that
the
note, thank you both for joining
is the
us.
truth.
Albie Amenkona
They are
and Zoe
driving
Cohen.
genocide.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. What we do know is, and I believe it was the Indian Prime Minister, said he didn't particularly enjoy being told what to do on this issue by other nations such as ourselves. So there you go. It's an upward hill task.
I just love how the climate protesters really hate the climate conference. It's like, sort of, how do you think you are going to reach any sort of agreements? Well, much more after your headlines with Tatiana.